Hi, everyone.
Wait a minute. What is this? What is this happening right now?
I don't know. Let me look. I think this is yep, for sure. It's a Perc Talk. What?
What? Who are these guys?
Right. What's up, everybody? This is Sid and Will. And this is episode number 22 of On the Backash Perc Talk, where we talk about things happening in the percussion world of pageantry arts. I had to look it up. It's been a couple of months.
Listen, if it ain't the main cast, the main podcast, there's all kinds of stuff going on.
Yeah, it really is.
It's like as soon as you think you got downtime, boom. Hey, can you do this? Do what?
Yeah. I know me. I mean, yeah, it was summer, but I actually took a couple trips. Went out to Vegas for WGI advisory board stuff. Then I went to Washington, D.C. for my national music educator stuff. And I'm not used to traveling that much, or really at all, during the summer. But it was all good stuff. So when
I don't know, depending on anybody who, is more focused on the Perc Talk kind of stuff, they may not know that somebody is a champion in the room.
Yeah.
A double champion at that.
Well, I don't know. How am I double champion?
Circuit.
Oh, circuit champion. Yeah. I guess we haven't really talked about that on here. Yeah. So my, if you don't know, I'm a middle school band director, but I run the percussion program at my school here in Kentucky. And we have a concert A group this year who we won our circuit championship again this year. And then we somehow, some way, we won our class at WGI World Championship. So,
school history in the making.
Yeah, they had a banner year. And I was funny because I was telling folks, I was like, I thought this was going to be a rebuild year. Like there's some new, fresh, some new faces and, developing leadership. But I mean, we put a pretty good show together, and the kids had a lot of fun with it, and it was just consistent all year. I don't. It's funny. I think from a execution standpoint, our prelims run was our worst show of the season. Maybe I was just hyper focused on things, but for me, I was just like, we were making some mistakes I ain't heard us make before, but but it all turned out well, and got a tattoo because I bet the kids that
look at it.
I took
inked up.
Yeah, got a little ink. That was not in the plans ever in my life. So, I was just, anything to motivate kids. You know how it is. You do the stuff to get the kids motivated. And I was like, yeah, if y'all break 90 or medal at Worlds, I'll get a tattoo. I'm not thinking that either one of those things would happen. The medal thing became a lot more realistic, I think, but I never would have thought we would have broke 90. And then they did it twice. So in 2 days. So But proud moment, proud director, proud of those kids, and some of them may watch. I think some of them watch the podcast, so they'll be happy to get shout out. So it was an eventful spring. My band's played well too. So I've had a good 6 months, good 7 months. Can't complain. So. But yeah, and then Will's, running his business, doing his thing up there.
Man, lawyers suck.
Yeah.
Not all of them.
Not all of them.
But I will say, dealing with the process and stuff like that, man, it's a headache. And everybody be kind to the planet so the planet will stop sending hurricanes and tornadoes and floods and all kinds of crazy stuff at us, and causing wildfires.
Right now, the sun is sitting on us.
The sun is in the earth right now for some states, and I'm just constantly having to rebuild stuff, get contractors, and it's just not fun. But Yeah.
Yeah, I just
But I did have it as far as the design, and I guess I helped out a lot of color guards this year with a lot of audio, music, and stuff like that. I do want to reach out to anybody looking for anybody to arrange or cut up some color guard music for you. Holla at me. But I always tell people it's like know what you want. Get your segment, get your spots. Down to the minute, or what's even better, if you have lyrics, go to the lyric. Communication will always go a long way, so I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, man,
so
staying hard in the game.
and then now you're writing. I know you're writing some perk book for a group. So
Yeah,
so
same as that.
Yeah.
If you need percussion book reading for your marching bands, your indoor groups, and all that, holla at me on that too. Doing all that, trying to get things going back up, trying to get the wheels turning again. School's here, man. Up in the Northwest, man. It's different.
Yeah.
It's different.
Crazy how marching band is viewed across the country.
Man, I don't think a lot of people truly know. I honestly don't, and because reason why I say that so harshly is because I didn't.
Yeah.
And I got basically thrown into the fire. And not to say that there aren't places that do, I want to say, take it seriously, but it's very, very, very competitive. I will say, if you're talking about seriousness on a competitive standpoint, man, the South is running that.
Yeah.
There's so many bands, man. It is the deal in the South. The West, like I say, I think there are pockets and spots, but when you're talking like maybe as an overall, man, there are just so many bands that get talked about that are either Midwest or South or Central located, but man, up here is like pulling teeth.
Yeah. So that's it's it's kind of crazy. So, all right, man, we got some stuff to talk about. I know people are wanting to get people's feedback, and there's a few podcasts out there that are talking about percussion stuff. We're not going to show any videos in this one. We're just going to just flat out talk because, like we said before we hit the record button, I have no idea what's going to happen in percussion come in.
What's like no more, like at all. Like what is happening?
The
SCV jacked it up for everyone.
Yeah, the results from the San Antonio show have just blew up everybody's notion of what was going to happen, and I'm here for it,
exactly,
because we often, we're just like, well, this group's going to win drums, and this group's, they're good, and it's always this group, and usually, you finish within your tier, within your you finish within your tier as far as when it comes to subcaption or caption placements. If you're a top 5 core, you probably have a top 5 brass, a top 5 guard, a top 5 drum line. I don't think that's going to happen this year.
Listen.
I think we're going to see some stuff, kind of pop out of nowhere. And while there's been several contests between San Antonio and the release of this episode, I think a lot of things are changing. And like I said, I'm always here for that, just because I think more often than not, there are groups that have strong individual sections that, for lack of a better term, get slotted with their core. And Jeff Brooks was judging San Antonio, and I don't think he looked at it almost was like he wasn't even looking at the name or who was performing. He was strictly looking at, all right, are they drumming or are they not drumming?
Right.
Right. And I think because of that, you got some of the results that you ended up getting. So I'm going to run down the results as we talk about this, and we'll probably just kind of touch on a lot of them. But I'm going to run down how they finished in San Antonio, and then we might do a quick comparison about how they finished, what drum rank has them ranked. And drum rank does theirs based off the latest score. So it's not an average, it's strictly the last show they went to, what did they score? Kind of moving that way. So I think the shock of it all, winning drums at San Antonio was the Cavaliers. And they won about 3/10. So they just didn't win it.
It's like, no.
They
handed.
Yeah. They went out and took it first in content, first in achievement. So, for those that are kind of new to score sheets and stuff like that, we talk about this a lot on the main podcast, but content is like what you're doing, not necessarily difficulty, but that has a lot to do with it, but like creativity too. And what are you bringing to the table? And as we often say, we don't say it as much on this podcast, but on the other one, percussion means all of the percussion. So not just battery, but the front ensemble too. So a lot of people are just like, well, they don't have the best drum line. That's only half the battle. You have to have a front ensemble. And we've said, for years, that Cavi's front ensemble is something to be reckoned with.
Exactly.
Their difficulty comes from a different level of things. They are very creative about how they write their book, and they're not afraid to take a lot of risk. They do a lot of splits in their front. Their mallet book, if you're talking about athletic, if you want to compare Cavi's mallet book to anybody, you can compare it to Boston's battery book.
And that's the thing, man. It's like, Boston showed their face last year with their battery, and everybody was just so wowed and everything. And I mean, we've said for years, it's like anything new comes from somewhere or can be influenced by something, because what a lot of people just didn't realize is like, Cadets had been on that game. Cadets was that line that was doing those notes that you see Boston doing. The problem is when you get so used to a line doing something all the time, it doesn't seem to be that extravagant or fascinating anymore. But then here comes Boston doing basically what Cadets were already doing. Yeah. And now all of a sudden it's fresh. Yeah. But that front ensemble stuff is it's so weird, because it's like you said a minute ago, it's like, well, such and such doesn't have the better battery and stuff like that. And it's like, I would like for anybody to tell me right now that you knew 100% Blue Coats were going to win drums last year.
No, I wouldn't have called it.
I guarantee you, I think the best I can do is say that there are probably people who are just really good fans, and they would probably say that. But when you're talking about a mass or a majority, how many of you 100% without one single doubt, not SCV, not BD, not Boston, not none of them, you 100% said that Blue Coats was going to win drums last year? So that's the epitome of that. It's like Blue Coats did not have the best drum line. If you want to put it down there like that, maybe Boston probably really did have the best drum line. But the front, in my opinion, which from last year and this year, in my opinion, is still lacking. I still don't feel like that they have figured their front ensemble out yet. I have at least 3 front ensembles ahead of Boston. At least. And that's a major thing, because you can't do that in indoor. If you try to pull this Boston book with a no front ensemble in indoor, you ain't getting no medal.
So Cavaliers, and I think one of the things we talked about with them is they did bolster their battery up. This battery is playing notes that I hadn't seen them play in a long time.
Very much,
and they're achieving at a high level. I mean, they won achievement by 0.15, which is, significant enough with the groups that they had with the groups that they were going against with that. So I think Mike McIntosh and his crew down there are up there compared to where I'm at. It's doing the right things. Those kids are working hard, and now they know they can do it. it's going to be hard to catch them. I think it's going to be hard for them to get caught. It's also going to be a lot of the who judges too. I'm interested to see when these guys go head to head again. All these guys go head to head again. Who's judging and how it falls in? Because I really think when it comes to finals week, your winner is going to be who's the most consistent. Who's going to be the 3 judges that they see that week? Because if you're not familiar with that, for your caption awards like guard, brass, and percussion, they take the average of the 3 nights. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night. They take the average from all 3. So theoretically, like Blue Coach did, you don't have to win all 3 nights to win. If you're consistent and somebody has a bad night, you can take it. So that's going to be kind of the thing moving forward with them. But lots of really good stuff happening with Cavi's percussion group. Second at that show was Boston, who was probably one of people's favorite to win. They're 3/10 behind Cavaliers overall, 3rd in content, and 2nd in achievement. For some, that content number may seem a little weird, but like we said, a lot of demand and everything's comparable. So like, we're not saying the Boston Crusaders front ensemble book isn't demanding. We're just saying in compared to what other front ensembles are doing, it doesn't. It's the content is not as high as perceivably as everybody else. So, but the battery book is on fire again, and they're playing a lot of things better. I think their tenor line is a lot better this year, and their bass line. I mean, they are truly splitting basically the snare book in the bass line. Right, their bass line does a lot to punctuate moments in that show. Like I can listen to it. I don't, from a design standpoint, some of that might get a little bit too much. And I'm thinking more of for the core, as far as it's like they have a very long extended snare phrase that seems to go on for a little bit. And they're playing it well, but
that's kind of my problem a little bit with the actual overall show, is that this phrase goes on with more than just music, but there is a such thing as too much of something, and it's almost to the point where, because here's my thing, I feel like, and I've caught myself and told myself this as well, it's like I feel like I am the same bitter kind of person that people are when they talk about SCV. Like, people get so tired of SCV winning, blah blah, this and this. So it's not that you discredit them or anything, but you want something different kind of deal. And that's not me discrediting Boston and stuff, because a lot of it is very impressive, and a lot of it is like outrageous writing. It's just like, you have the balls to do that. And a lot of groups wouldn't. But when you watching the show, it's like all right, y'all, we get it. It's like and now it goes from a feature that as a musical feature or whatever to this is what we trying to do. Like, what are we accomplishing with all of this?
Because the percussion breaks like that are written for a couple of different reasons. One, to give the horn line a break. And we're starting to see that, become a thing more often. I think as we go along, usually they just had a whole song that was meant for the percussion. And now you're starting to see these breaks just pop up throughout the show for extended amounts of time. But they're also there to showcase a strong section. If you have a strong percussion section, that is a good chance for you to showcase it. Is this a matter of like how much time you're spending doing that? That becomes a question. And that's honestly, that is, unless it's egregious, that's up to interpretation. That's up to the judge to decide, all right, this is going on a little bit too long. So, but a lot of good things happening. I know the next time I watch it, I want to kind of delve into the front ensemble because I just don't feel like they get an opportunity to really shine.
They don't.
I just
They don't at all because I'm trying to make sure I don't mix anything up, but I do know like the very first real drum break, the front don't do anything. That's a long time of just banging drums. And then, because I told people before, like, because if you're born snare player or whatever, you have everybody has a tendency to watch whatever they used to play, and you sit there, and I tell people, I was like, I don't care if you were a snare player. Like, if this is indoor or something like that, you're not going to sit here and tell me you're going to watch 30 plus something groups with no front and just drums in a gym for hours. Yeah, imagine no music, just drums. You're not finna do that. So when you have a feature like that, because that was my hope for Boston this year, is like, I don't know, maybe they didn't listen to anybody, maybe they didn't hear anything, or maybe they still don't feel like their front has the hands that these other top 3 or 4 groups may have. I don't really know the answer yet, but that was, to me, that's a huge prime moment. Nobody's saying dial that back, but give me something more than cymbal hits and block chords, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, but I'm still second. So they're doing a lot of things right.
They are, and to me, what I associated Boston's battery or percussion with is like the battery is playing so hard and so many notes, and they are compensating for the front. Well, who does that remind you of? The same year, Crown was busting hundreds in captions just to win the show, while the drumline is sitting like 8th. They got to do so much to compensate because their battery was killing them. And that's where I feel like Boston's battery is right. It's like the drumline is doing so much, you kind of got to give it to them because that front ain't. So
you have that. Blue Devils finished 3rd. They were 2nd in content and 4th in achievement, and I can go with those caption numbers with that. They do have a demanding show, both in the front and on the battery, but their demand is really hard. A lot of that stuff just ain't clean yet. And Blue Devils they are not afraid to take the hose to something. Like, they'll give it a little bit more time, but if it ain't where they want it to be clean, you'll hear some stuff get cut back. While the front ensemble is good, I don't feel like they have the presence that they usually have.
I think because the show is doing that much this year, in my opinion. I mean, because I have it, we might have some stuff lined up for watch down the road, but I have seen some clips of the front, like some 30-second, maybe a minute so clips or so, and I'm watching some of this working that they're doing down there, and I'm like, okay, yeah. I was like, this is why I like the only to be known, BD has they're my second choice in favorite front ensembles this year. It's hard. It's hard, dude. I'm looking at this and I'm like, that how?
Yeah.
Because after the show starts, it's basically a drum set. And I mean, that dude reminds me of basically Chino Hills or somebody. Like, dude is ridiculous. Or Dartmouth.
Probably went to Chino.
Yeah. Or else he came from Pulse or somebody. But that dude is phenomenal on set. And that's the beginning of the show, basically. But yeah, I think just the overall show this year, maybe that's why it's like, yeah, that book's going to still be that, but we can still afford to not have to have it stage front like something SCV would probably do, if that makes sense.
So yeah, but now there's some licks. This snare line has some licks in that show. I'm just like, who put that on paper? Like, what is it?
It's almost to the point of like, look, Finale or Sibelius ain't playing that. Mm-hmm. You got to teach that by rote.
Yeah. Like how?
We'll teach during camp.
Yeah. Right. Well, I'll let you know how this works. But I mean, they are. I mean, we expect excellence out of them, and they just giving it like they always do. So it's just a matter of when will they get clean, and when they get clean, will they be as clean as the other groups? Like who's going to be cleanest that night? I guess because not a lot of stuff on the table. 3/10 between content and achievement, so they still got a little ways to go with that. So, fourth in drums was the Cadets.
Wild. This is why nobody knows what's going on.
Yes. So, within the top 4, you have 2 groups that finished outside of the top 5 placing in drums. Cadets were 5th in content, but 3rd in achievement. And like I said, I can agree with that. Number 2. I mean, some of those, Lee Bettis notes are popping, dude. That battery book is what it is. Like they were playing last year. It was just some some minor inconsistencies on some stuff. But
I think they were younger too.
Maybe, and a year. I mean, a year does a whole lot for a group.
I'm trying to tell you because if that don't say nothing to you, look at BD.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them started last year.
Yeah. But lots of really good work happening with them. Some old school, what it seems like old school cadet book. And I don't know what this cat is doing. But a lot of old school cadet book and trying to figure some stuff out. But it's some good stuff. It really is. It's clean and it's very appropriate for what the Corps is doing. It's really smart. Lots of nods to past cadets in that book, and you can hear it. Police out loud in front to back. 5th place in percussion was Blue Coats. They listed a lot of lettuce on the table too. They were 4th in content, 5th in achievement. There's a 3/10 gap between the two, though. So,
I feel like they just had a bad run that show because that ballad in the front. Mm-hmm. Please believe me.
And that's all by feel. There's no conductor during that. If you notice, next time you catch that show,
wild, man.
Yeah, next time you catch that show, watch it. The field commanders are sitting down on the podium.
I'm trying to tell you, they gonna come out the shadows again.
And their part of their difficulty is like in the minute details about not necessarily technical demand, but I like to say brain demand as far as like lots of modulations, lots of use of space in the book, creativity on how they present their program as far as like in the battery and in the front ensemble. So like they're not going to throw 7,000 notes at you per second, but what they are going to do is they're going to make their book seem like a calculus problem and be like, mm-hmm. How'd you figure out how to get 9 snares to play this with the same mind frame and timing? How did you get your front ensemble to feel this particular section with all this rubato and all of this stuff and be able to keep time, with what's happening in the back of the field?
Because that's staggered horn stuff, man.
Mm-hmm.
my ear would just completely shut off.
Yeah, and one of the things people don't know about that show, and especially their third, I think it's their third or fourth movement, the one that starts off with the raunchy low brass sound. If I listen to that
The
source,
trombone thing.
I listen to that source material, and where it feels like it wants to pull apart, like phase. It's supposed to do that. Like it's supposed to be that unnerving, to where it seems like it's falling apart. And I wonder, I'm hoping the judges are keen enough to catch that and not think that they're actually pulling apart, but like understand that like no, that feel is meant to be there. Because once I heard the source material, when I heard Blue Coats live the first time, I was like, okay, this isn't quite lining up. It wants to, and then I listened to the source material, and I was like, oh, that's supposed to happen that way. That's nutty.
That's ballsy too to do that though.
Mm-hmm. But they don't care. They always done that.
Yeah, because you're gonna get the massive thinking something's wrong.
Mm-hmm. Like it.
Because I always tell myself like, look, man, I give you, especially drum corps, because it's easier because you get more back to backs than you do in indoor.
Mm-hmm.
But in drum corps, I give you like maybe 3 shows, and if you're still doing the same thing, and it doesn't seem like you're edging from it, and it gets more crisp and clearer,
Mm-hmm.
but it's still the same thing that I was hearing the first time, I'm going to start assuming that that's supposed to be that.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Because sometimes, man, I'll hear a lick somewhere, and I'm like, man, is what is happening in this? And then I wait. I was like, maybe it was just played bad today. And then the next show, I'll listen for that part. And I was like, no, they did it again.
Yeah.
So it's like,
is that supposed to be that way?
Yeah. Like I said, I'll give you about till the 3rd show. If you do it again and it feels like it's getting tighter, but I still hear that, I'm going to start assuming maybe that's supposed to be like
that's what they want, yeah. Which, I know when I write, I try to avoid those moments because I never want the judge to question whether something was supposed to be clean or not.
Yeah, because that's the real ticket. Because theoretically, when you design, you got to go judge then audience. Because if a judge is the same way I'm thinking, that's bad for the group, in a sense. Because it's like, oh, I'm gonna have to constantly comment on that part.
Yeah. So I don't know. So, but yeah. So Blue Coats are doing Blue Coat things, and it's done well. But they did, like I said, they did leave a lot of lettuce on the table, along with BD. So they could, once they get clean, they could kind of emerge back into the top 3, fighting for Sanford. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of, what's going to happen. So then we have a little bit of a jump. Those first groups scored in the 18 range. So 18-1, 2, 3, 4, and then, like I said, Catfish for 18.7. And then after that, it was a little bit of a drop, but this race is pretty tight too. So 6th place, Phantom Regiment. Just a solid core front to back.
Man, just all the way.
I mean, they're doing what they're
all the way.
They're doing what they're being asked to do well, from a percussion standpoint, and pretty good contribution. And like the notes are nice, the clarity is fine for what they're doing. They don't get in the way. They pick their moments, and it's just it's just good writing. I mean, it's you can almost say this about everybody, but like, man, everybody's percussion section is figuring it out. But they are. Finishing 7th in content and 6th in achievement. But not a lot of lettuce left on the table, just a 10th. So that's typically what you see. And then 7th in percussion was Crown, who has improved tremendously. But if it's to let you know how steep the competition is, they're sitting 7th in percussion. 6th in content, which I agree with, but they're leaving a lot of lettuce on the table. 8th in achievement.
Mm-hmm. But they got new staff, and I keep trying to tell people, man, that's hard to do. It's hard to do to come in, even if you're like a top dog or you're a well-known person or you've made some good achievements in your life or whatever, all of that jazz. Kudos to you and whoever. But when you're jumping into a den full of wolves already,
Yeah.
That's a hard thing to do. It's a hard thing to do to break it. But I am for that direction because I like the sound now.
Mm-hmm.
I really like the feel and what they're doing. It's it's same old Crown, but it's different flow to it.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to help. And I really hope that they keep that staff.
Yeah.
Because I hate staff that jump around, man.
Yeah. Any
Find you a home.
That percussion section would have them solidly in the middle section. The way that they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just this year with so many groups doing so well, you gotta fit people in the right. You gotta squeeze people in and make room for folks. And I was afraid. I was afraid that whenever they got with everybody, trying to fit everybody in, because they don't like to use half points if they don't have to, or not half, but like 0.05. They don't like to use those if they don't have to. But what the latest race is right now, they're having to. And I didn't look at the last. We're recording this on a Wednesday, but there was a show the other night where they won. They ended up beating Boston, but I don't know who won drums at that show.
I think Boston did.
You think Boston did?
I think Boston.
I can tell you because they went out. Boston. Well, hold on. Crown went out again yesterday.
Crown beat Cadets yesterday in drums.
I
know that
Crown
one.
beat Cadets in drums? Okay.
Yes.
So maybe it wasn't.
But when they went against Boston, I'm pretty sure Boston won that one.
Okay.
Pretty sure.
So but there's just not all those other groups that got to get in there. So the judge can play with numbers a little bit.
Because, here, Cadets beat them in drums.
Mm-hmm. Easily.
Easy. I was about to add that too, yeah. Easy. They beat them in drums. And then yesterday, they turned around and beat them in drums. So it's like, bro, what?
Yeah, I guess it's just a matter of... Because I was really concentrating on the whole core at San Antonio. Was Cadets drums just that much cleaner than Crown that day? Did Crown have just a bad run? Perk-wise?
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like, because at this point with everyone, it literally is only going to come down to what you do that day. Mm-hmm. Nothing else matters.
Which is the way it should be. If you throw down, you can be last in drums all year.
I promise you.
Throw down on the right night, you should carry the right for it.
Night.
Not get slaughtered.
That's all.
And like I said, just looking at it, Jeff Brooks didn't care. He was just like, "Nah, these cats are drumming. I'm putting the number down."
Mm-hmm.
He's like, "I'll work the numbers out later." But so it'll be interesting to see if Crown can get that cleaned up and get some of that lettuce off the table. In 8th place was Mandarins, another solid group, just drumming well. And I want to loop a few other folks, because you can kind of almost say the same thing about these next groups. Mandarins were 8th, Troopers were 9th. So you had that group of 4 tier, and then Blue Knights were 10th. Mm-hmm. All those guys worked the 17 club. What you're starting to see, I think, is better composition happening. I think the book that these groups are playing now is becoming a lot better. And
in my opinion, it starts there. Because that's why I harped on Crown so much, and I was so thrilled that they did get that staff. Because I think it starts there. Because it's like, God, oh man, y'all writing all this abstract stuff and it ain't working or whatever. But that right there, Troopers. I throw a wild card out there, man. And I actually looked off of the drum rank page. Wouldn't you know, my boys and girls are sitting at 11th.
Yeah.
Madison Scouts.
Now they finished.
What?
Now they finished 15th at San Antonio, but they
did.
But they would have scored a 16, which is equivalent to an 80. There were 15 percussion sections that popped at least an 80% at San Antonio. Mm-hmm. 15 out of 20.
That's wild, man.
That lets you know the quality of percussion that is happening, where only 13 groups finished with an overall score of 80 for the whole corps.
Because I have been saying it. That's my old alum, man. I've been saying it for the Scouts for a while. I was like, man, it's got to be something different, man. I think they were kind of clinging to that old feel kind of way, and it's like, y'all, we got to. Don't be scared. You just got to. And I think this year is kind of that foot in the door. Okay, let's test these waters. See what we got. Get some hands in there. Get some consistency in there. Get some returning members.
It's just like anything else. You do what you always done. You get what you always got. And, you see Crown, they make a huge change. And now, we're talking about their percussion section in a completely different light. Not as a detriment to, to, or a liability, I should say, to the corps, but something that's helping push the corps forward, and and it's not even groups that are just playing all this wild and crazy stuff. It's this good quality book that allows the ensemble to achieve and be read clearly.
That part,
that's what it is. It's nobody's going so far out their realm that is just bad, or nobody's writing is just bad. I mean, we talk about Troopers. Colts are back again, being consistent. Blue Knights is starting to step back up in percussion. So, like, all of these perennials are starting to figure it out. And then you got these, your bottom 12, or not your bottom 12, but your 11, 12, 13, 14 groups starting to get good book written, good equipment use, good text. They're starting to get this stuff, and it's starting to pay it forward for them. And this is why I was so happy with how those results landed. Not based on who finished where, but the fact that of the matter that is, if I have a really strong percussion section, they're going to get their credit. They're going to get
exactly.
No matter where the corps is finishing, they're going to get credit, and that's going to cause problems at finals. If Cavies corps can't push into that top 6, which they basically have, but if they, are all the judges going to be willing to put them where they need to be put and actually compare those guys to the top 3 or 4 corps to where they actually do have a legitimate shot to win the Sanford? That's going to be the thing. Or are they going to hold back their number because they're afraid if they put them too high and then somebody's better than them, they're going to push the score too high? Number management is a huge thing. It really is, and it's it's a very subjective activity.
Because man, if it's almost like, let's hypothetically say Blue Coats go on first. You can drop that 18 point something or whatever, but that, okay, Devils in Boston is coming. Am I going to put them above this number? Because let's say if you put down an 18-8, I mean, you either going to have to get into them 19s, or you see where I'm going? This is all hypothetical because it could go whatever, but that's a...
I mean, and they're going to be pushing 19s come finals. Like,
yeah, oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But
I'm just trying to get like a random scenario. But
but Cavies come out and throw it down, and say they're...
Because theoretically, that would be the first corps to really put the hammer on it.
They could be sitting 19-2, 19-3-4. And then you're not leaving a whole lot of room up top. It's enough, But if they just come out there and just throw one down and you like, all right, 19-7 or 9-9-9-9.
You have to, because
you're just like,
because Cavies, they will, in my opinion, they will be that group that will force the percussion judge to be like, no one's touching this until they get here. And then when they get here, was it still good enough? So that's what Cavies is probably going to be thinking in their minds. They may not be. But if you say something like subliminally, they're like, we have to set the bar. And we have to stay in this judge's mind for I don't know how long because I watch, like on YouTube, I watch his there's a guy who does a lot of gaming setups. He does reviews. He actually does setups for PC computers and stuff like that. And he holds contests and stuff like that. Well, he held a contest for his channel to get a new channel intro. Something that's like a little song that's like 5-10 seconds or something like that. And I kid you not, he went through like anywhere from 8 to 10 entries. When I tell you the first one was on my mind the entire video, that's what Cavies has got to do. They want their show and their perk to be in that judge's mind for like the next 8 groups or so, or how many is left after them. Because that's going to determine what that number's going to be. Because I sat there, I was like, God, dog, I'm still thinking about that setup. And I done seen like 7 after him already. And I was like, man, that's still the best one.
Yeah.
So that's what you want to do.
So this weekend's shows are going to say a lot because it's 3 bangers back to back, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got Murfreesboro Friday night. You got Atlanta Saturday, and then you have Night Beat. I think it's Night Beat. It's one of the Crown shows. They got 3 of them, but one of them on Sunday. So this weekend I'm interested to see the race, and all of this can bounce around. And if it does, I'm here for it because that'll at least be one race that we can go in the Indy saying, I don't know what's going to happen. Let's enjoy these performances and see what happens. So please, in the comments below, let us know what you're thinking about the race so far. Who you rooting for? Who's your favorite? What do you think you're going to see? Predictions. Who you think will win the Sanford? Who you think's going to, pop out of nowhere and shock the world? Because if you can call it, you're a good one because it's real. It's all over the place. So
this is one of those you thought, and then the score said something else.
Yeah. And we got some more Perc Talks coming up here soon. We just, like I said, we just been busy with some stuff. So we'll probably try to find some vids to look at. We always try to do stuff that has front ensemble as well. Just because, one, there's a lot of other folks that are just doing just battery. And while we love battery, we do. The front ensemble needs some love too. So we love watching those type of videos too, and we can get a full picture of what the percussion sound like. Because we've been saying, well, Boston's playing 7,000 notes, and it's fairly clean. How are they losing? Oh wait, they have a front ensemble.
Mm-hmm. So if y'all,
we're not dissing Boston's ensemble. It's just not. Oh no, it's just not what the battery is. It's just
but not. But this is a prime time. Hopefully, people are listening and people share this. This is a prime time for anybody who does go to these shows. Find them, because I get it. Front ensembles are hard to find, and they're sometimes hard to get to. But go find them and make these videos, because if you want to be that true fan of whoever you want to like, get the full spectrum and not just one side.
Yeah.
Be the fan of the battery, but remember, if they start losing for some reason, remember it's called percussion, not drumline.
Yeah. Forget everything.
So if you're not just as much of a fan of their front as you are of their battery, you can't really get too mad at why they're losing, but take these opportunities, man, because that's why I was so sad that a lot of the DCI shows didn't make it up north this year. Because, man, that was my mission. I was going to go to one. I was actually going to try to make two, and make one. I was just going to do live only. I wasn't even going to buy a ticket, just go to do live, but I was going to try to get as many fronts as I can because, you know, I really think a lot of people search for those and appreciate that more, would appreciate it more if there were more available for if anybody has the time to or the care to, you know.
So, you know, same thing with guard. I know this is a Perc Talk, but guard lot videos would be cool to watch too. Like, for real.
God, and the guard is even worse to find.
Yeah, you can't find
they ain't even worse because the funny thing about it is if they're not off on some, like the school, you'll be at some arena somewhere, but they'll be at the Walmart parking lot. So why did y'all walk this far to warm up? Or else they'll be a lot of times I actually see them inside buildings somewhere. Like they'll have inside warm up. So color guards really are hard to find. I do know finals they're easier, but man, if you're one who can find it, man. Don't hesitate. I'm telling you, man, if you want some views.
Yeah, there's a place for it, for sure.
If you want your channels to have some views, listen, I'm just throwing it out there. What the memes say.
So you can find us on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. You can also listen to us on Spotify. Like, comment, share, subscribe. Like I said, man, keep the community rolling. Like, we want your opinion, so safe space here. You know, as long as you're not, you know, just saying blah 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 blah. This sucks. Blah blah.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you can not like it.
I already know I'm wrong on a lot of
things. Yeah, and that's the thing. You know, we don't claim to be the end all be all of percussion knowledge and all that good stuff. We're just fans, and sometimes we're just fans, and we just happen to have mics and cameras.
Exactly.
That's it. So this has been a little bit longer of an episode because we're just talking, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and like I said, we got some stuff coming up here soon, so just keep an eye out for you. So for Will, this has been episode number 22 of Perc Talk, and we are holler at you later.